Hello, today we're going to look at another horrific instance with you. Mom is a significant person in every one of our lives. In all languages, this term sounds kind and tender since it conveys only goodness and understanding. Mommy is the only word a person says in times of agony, anxiety, or delight. Unfortunately, children are not usually a mother's top priority. A high-profile crime committed in 2016 in one of the country's largest states, Texas, has spread across the nation. Christy Sheets, a young and successful 42-year-old lady, shot and killed both of her adult daughters in her lawn. But why? Let's start from the beginning and try to understand what drove a loving mother to commit such a heinous deed. Christy Bird was born in Decatur, Alabama, in 1974, into the family of Rebecca Bird. The girl's parents parted when she was very little. Mom Christy had to work hard to provide a poverty-free environment for her child. Christy was raised primarily by her granddad. The youngster admired her grandfather because he treated her well and taught her odd skills, such as how to carry a rifle. The retired officer possessed an incredible collection of firearms. The two of them would lock themselves in a semi-basement dark room and spend hours searching at the gems hidden beneath her grandfather's captivating stories. From early childhood, a person seeks to understand his role in life, learns to form relationships with others, and obtains education in order to apply what he has learned in the actual world. However, Christy did not strive for knowledge. Despite attending one of the best schools in the state, the study had little interest in the young rebel. Constant confrontations with peers seriously harmed her childhood psyche. Christy barely completes school due to frequent attacks and conflicts with classmates. After graduation, Christy relocates to Lawrence County, Alabama in the north to pursue university. She obtains a work as a secretary at a transportation company and meets Jason Sheets, a young and talented expert. The youngsters spend hours walking around the city. They walk together. They go on a trip to Christy's hometown. They create a strong and lasting relationship. After a few years, they marry and relocate to Kathy's hometown. A young family buys a property on one of the city's quietest streets. Their first daughter, Taylor, was born on April 19, 1994. Jason was overjoyed since he had always wanted a little girl. The Sheets were a wealthy and happy family. Jason was a successful consultant for a major oil and gas firm. Christy reared her daughter and was an excellent homemaker. On October 21, 1998, Christy and Jason welcomed their second daughter, Madison. Family life continued on in a quiet and steady manner. Jason was working. Christy was taking care of the kids. Until Catastrophe occurred, permanently changing the family's prior way of life. In 2012, Christy's granddad died. She adored him like the father she never had. The woman had a difficult time dealing with such a significant loss. Psychologists and pharmaceuticals have taken the place of family idols. Christy's mother dies only 2 months later, still grieving the loss of her grandfather. Another tragedy morally kills the woman, and she is admitted to a facility with a mental disease for the first time. One clinic is replaced with another. Antidepressants are replaced by hard booze. Christy's internal state stays unstable and susceptible for an extended period of time. Husbands and daughters have long tried to support a loved one in any manner they can. After a while, they appear to succeed. Christy returns to her former life. She obtains a job as a manager at a laser cosmetology clinic that specializes in tattoo removal. Work consumes all of her time, while her adoring husband and girls attempt to fill her heart and thoughts. On her daughter's birthday, September 25, 2015, Christy publishes a photo of Taylor and Madison on her Facebook page. She tags it with a proclamation of maternal love. Christy described her children as fantastic, sweet, kind, attractive, and intellectual girls. Christy wrote to her girls, "You have no idea how much I love and cherish you." In January of that year, she penned another forceful piece, this time defending her right to bear arms. A post with a photo of a polished rifle on a table and 7 rounds next to it. "I have 10 guns. Obama wants 8 of my guns. How many guns do I own?" In response to the comments, she replies, "That's correct. I have 10 guns. Christy Sheets has been an outspoken proponent of legislation that would make firearms easily available to the public. She was particularly opposed to the Democratic Party's proposal to outlaw the free commerce of semi-automatic pistols. Christy said it would be a violation of her family's right to self-defense. How ironic that Christy Sheets' love, admiration, and vigorous defense of weapons, as well as her belief in the right to bear arms, resulted in the awful deaths of her 2 daughters and herself. On Jason's birthday, June 24, 2016, Christy invited her girls home for a family meal. That night, the whole family gathered in the living room. Instead of learning about his imminent divorce, Christy overheard their talk, and ruckus erupted in the living room. She yelled, she cursed. Then she departed. Jason tried to calm the girls down, promising that things will improve. But Christy returned with a gun in her hand. Jason shielded the children as screams and panic filled the house. Madison crouched behind the couch and dialed 911 in a quiet manner. When the dispatcher responded, the girl was overwhelmed by her mother. "Mommy, Mommy, do not shoot. Do not shoot." Wheezing, moaning, and quiet. The voice was heard again. "Do not shoot. There are children. I will do whatever you wish. Do not shoot." The telephone conversation was cut short. Taylor, 22, is unable to speak or communicate information to the operator on her second call. She was utterly baffled by the sheer pandemonium that was taking place in the family house. Taylor was shot twice by her mother, who fired the fatal shot as her daughter lay dying on the ground outside their home. Christy simply fired her rifle numerous times at Taylor and Madison. Police arrived at the scene of the incident at 5 p.m., following many 911 calls. Officers discovered the deaths of 17-year-old Madison Sheets and 22-year-old Taylor Sheets near Christy and Jason's home. Christy stood over Madison's body, holding a revolver in her hand. She was definitely about to fire another shot at the girl. The police officer, not knowing if the victim was still alive, instructed her to down the firearm immediately. When Christy refused this directive, the officers opened fire at point-blank range. The woman was died on the scene. An assessment of the victims found that Madison, 17, died instantaneously from her injuries, while Taylor, 22, was wounded. She was helicoptered to the hospital, but her life could not be saved. As a result, both daughters died as a result of injuries caused by their own mother. Jason Sheets, 45, was the only survivor of the tragedy. Christy also shot him, but he was able to seek sanctuary at the home of a neighbor, who asked him to call the police. The neighbors overheard him imploring with Christy not to injure them because they were our children, but Christy ignored his remarks. Instead, she fired a few shots in Jason's direction. Only a fortunate break rescued him from death. However, the authorities were unable to ask Jason about the circumstances surrounding the incident very away. When the police arrived on the scene, they quickly transported him to the hospital in a condition of shock. The area surrounding the house where the family tragedy unfolded was sealed off. Surprised neighbors and random witnesses were constantly questioned. As the interviews began, it became clear that there were initially sounds of arguing coming from the residents. Then, according to witnesses concerned about what was going on, Christy started beating the females. Then, with a .38 caliber shotgun, she shot Madison and Taylor at point-blank range. The girls, bleeding, fled out of the house. Madison hardly managed a few steps before fainting in anguish. Seeing this, Taylor's mother fired another shot in his direction. She fell and Christy ran inside the house, reloaded the shotgun, and killed her with a point-blank shot. Witnesses claimed Christy acted in cold blood and without emotion. After the first shots were fired in the living room, the entire family fled outside. It was a family quarrel that turned into a shooting, but we're still trying to piece it all together. That was the first story of what happened, told to the TV news crews who arrived on the scene of the catastrophe. What led Christy Bird Sheets, 42, to perpetrate such a heinous crime? The detectives do not know the exact causes. They only have dry facts at their disposal. According to police, not all was right in the Sheets family's home. Sheets has phoned the police patrol more than a dozen times over the course of several years due to family issues. In the end, Christy's husband and father of both girls, 45-year-old Jason Sheets, couldn't take it and abandoned his wife. However, he has lately returned to her. On the day of the catastrophe, the entire family came together for supper at Christy's invitation. Even Taylor, a college student who had recently spat with her mother, returned home to spend Jason's birthday with her family. What transpired astounded family acquaintances and observers alike. How and why did a mother murder her daughters? Neighbor Gino Hernandez remembers the Sheets family. "I've known both girls since they were 10 years old," the man added, wiping away tears. "They were always friendly, outgoing girls. I always waved and said hi when they passed by. The other thing is Christy. She wouldn't even stop by the BBQ. It always felt like she was on her own." Another neighbor stated that the girls are wonderful, and Jason is also a terrific man. All of their troubles revolved around Christy. The investigation also concurs with the neighbors. It has already been reported that Christy has had previous problems with both daughters. Furthermore, governmental authorities have already stated that Christy suffered from mental illness. At the first press conference on June 29, 2016, Sheriff Troy Niels told reporters that the 42-year-old mother was distraught and had attempted suicide multiple times since she was about to divorce her husband. According to the police spokeswoman, the couple's marriage began to collapse in 2012. Christy Sheets' grandfather had just died. Mrs. Sheets killed family members with a rifle she obtained from a deceased relative. Also, one of the possible causes of the family's major disagreement, according to the sheriff, was Christy's refusal to put up with her eldest daughter Taylor's forthcoming marriage. Christy Sheets had a dispute with her oldest daughter a few days before the shooting, during which she attempted to place Taylor under house arrest and ban her from contacting her fiancé. According to Niels, Jason disagreed with his wife on whether home arrest was a fair sentence for a 22-year-old girl. Juan Sebastian Logo, 23, and Taylor Sheets, 22, both studied art in college. The young couple had been dating for 4 years. They shared on social media how much they loved each other and how excited they were for their wedding. A small wedding ceremony was scheduled for June 27th. It has been alleged that Taylor's mother objected to his marriage to Sebastian, who is of Hispanic origin. Jason Sheets disagreed with his wife, insisting that incarcerating their eldest daughter was inappropriate punishment for an adult. Later, Jason Sheets would testify, informing detectives that his wife had contacted their daughters to tell them of the divorce. She had been informed, but instead of explaining in front of the children, she pointed a gun at them and shot them multiple times, but not her husband. Mr. Sheets indicated that the wife's motive was to make him suffer. According to Jason Sheets, his wife's downhill spiral began in 2012, when she lost her grandfather and then her mother 2 months later. Apparently, the rifle she used to murder her daughters was a gift from her grandfather. Jason Sheets said that his wife filed for a firearms license but was denied due to mental illness. This begs the question, what did Christy Sheets believe provoked the desire to punish and make her husband suffer? Was it the breakup of their marriage, or the loss of control and valor in her life, as alluded at in a series of Facebook outbursts in which Christy spoke protecting herself and her family? Or was Christy Sheets' choice to kill her girls influenced by medication or a worsening in her mental state? Jason Sheets informed police that his wife suffered from depression. She was taking prescribed medications by the handful and visiting a therapist. Sheriff Nels claimed that she had been treated 3 times in recent years at a private psychiatric facility after attempting to commit suicide. Christy Sheets had plenty of time and opportunity to kill her husband, but she didn't. Jason knew Christy intended him to suffer, Sheriff Nels stated, echoing Jason Sheets and retelling the incident for the first time. Mr. Sheets stated that Christy was aware of his feelings for Taylor and Madison, as well as their feelings for him. Nels continued. Perhaps the entire schism in the family and the realization that she would be losing not only her husband, but also her girls, worsened Christy's already terrible emotional state, and she grabbed a gun, predicting her awful end. Madison Davey, a close family friend, did an excellent interview in which he discussed family dynamics. He was the best father in the world. I used to hang out with them, and he enjoyed being around us. They were so funny together, you'd think the sisters would quarrel, but Davy said they adored each other and were constantly giggling. Davy went on to claim that the two daughters have a very close bond with each other and their father. Jason would do anything to protect them, and he tried. But Christy was going to kill that day, Davy explained. In one effort to commit suicide, Christy, possibly only intimidating, pulled out a revolver and screamed and cried goodbye to her family, but she could not achieve the desired result. Jason responded indifferently, "If you want to shoot yourself, don't touch us." "Shoot yourself," but Christy responded, "No, that will be your punishment." Relatives, and acquaintances knew that something was likely to happen in this family, but no one could have predicted that a woman would kill her daughters. Christy was causing harm to her family. She was psychologically unstable. The sheriff's department stated that police officers were routinely dispatched to the house of Christy and Jason, who were having violent arguments. Since January 2012, police have received 14 calls for service. Christy threatened suicide 3 times after being diagnosed with mental health difficulties. Juan Sebastian's distraught sister, Maria, described the Sheets sisters as some of the loveliest, most sensible, and kind-hearted girls she has ever encountered. Maria found it difficult to imagine that not long ago, she and Taylor were having a good time at a party and looking forward to her wedding day with Sebastian. "You've already become a member of our family, and that will stay the case," she tells her buddy. "You were a shining light in this wild world, and we will never forget you." The horrible act that ended the lives of young girls who had everything ahead of them has long sparked national outrage. People wept alongside Jason. Taylor Sheets, her older sister, attended school, worked as a carer for Care.com, and hoped to live a long and happy life with the guy she loved. Madison, the younger sister, attended school while also working as a babysitter. On the day of the girls' funerals, the entire city mourned, and social media and television news channels reported the tragic occurrence once more. Is it feasible that the availability of guns contributed to such a tragic tragedy? The state's failure to finally address the issue of weapons sales has resulted in yet another catastrophe. Christy Sheets, an ordinary Texas mom, shot and killed her 2 daughters following a domestic quarrel. Such occurrences are not surprising in the United States. People will die as long as Republicans and Democrats continue to pull the cat out of the bag and refuse to reach an agreement. The specific origins of the conflict that resulted in such catastrophic outcomes will be unclear. However, it is sufficient that the police visited this house more than time due to ongoing confrontations. That instance, it was obvious that the family was dysfunctional, but they were nonetheless left with guns. To summarize, I'd want to return to the beginning of the story. A mother is the closest and dearest person to her children, and they are the most important thing in her life. The example of Christy Sheets is an exception rather than a rule. Despite her inner turmoil, her maternal instinct appears to have fully shut down, and no one was able to stop her. But Christy's plan has been fully realized. Jason Sheets will be haunted by the horrific recollections of his daughter's murders for the rest of his life.